Hello there and a warm welcome to yet another episode of Rambling Reviews right here on Mason's Music Library. Now today I'm delighted to be discussing one of my all-time favourite hip-hop albums, and that's the one and only Madvillainy by the distinguished duo MF Doom and Madlib, otherwise known as Madvillain. I'm super excited for this one, so without further ado, let's get straight into the review. Madvillainy to me is such a precious project because it came out of just pure collaboration of two of the most respected and appreciated artists, both at the pinnacle of their career and prominence of their craft. Produced by the legendary beat conductor Madlib, known for his iconic projects such as 2003's Shades of Blue, a remarkable album that took old Blue Note recordings and remixed them into the most truly perfect jazz hop production ever. MF Doom, the MC overseeing this album, has established himself as a legendary position in music, known not only for putting out some of the best hip-hop albums of all time, including Operations Doomsday, Food, and the Special Herbs series, but for his persona and just the level of production, as he has released so much content through his 25 years of making unbelievable hip-hop music. I think the reason that this album is as good as it is comes from just how perfectly these two minds came together, with Madlib's first-rate production and MF Doom's first-rate writing and recording. This album was always going to be legendary. It was always going to have that level of influence and impact that it did have. I mean, you just hear so much of this album in the new school of hip-hop, from MCs like Earl Sweatshirt to Joey Badass, as well as far too many DJs and producers to even mention. I mean, this is one of those really high-impact albums in the world of hip-hop, as it just made it into the hands of so many people and kind of shook up the way that you can approach making a hip-hop album, injecting different flows, production styles, and concepts into this album. One of my favourite things about this album is the flow from track to track, as each song is placed throughout this album in a really thought out way. Take, for example, the first collection of songs, firstly starting off with the song Illest Villain, which I'm going to play for you right now.
As luck would have it, one of America's two most powerful villains of the next decade
is turned loose to strike terror into the hearts of men. To shock women into uncontrolled hysteria.
This is just such a creative setup and introduction for this project, as it reinforces that whole comic book B-movie supervillain persona that MF Doom has always held onto, making for not only a very cool image and identity, but an interestingly poignant reflection on the perception of hip-hop music, playing on people's negative perception of hip-hop as being all about criminality and rebellion, parodying and pastiching this to an almost comic book level of satire, setting up for an inside joke that pokes fun at any overly conservative listeners that have their pre-established prejudices. Next up we get a song that flips it around a little bit, and that's Accordion, one of my favourite songs from this album, with that hypnotic beat that samples, you guessed it, an accordion, pairs so well with Doom's buttery flow that rides his beat expertly, making for a really well balanced track, again working to set up the pair by demonstrating their own personal mastery and knowledge of music production, showing that these two aren't here to play around, they're here to make good music, and I have so much respect for that. The next song to be found on this section of the album that to me feels almost like a little prelude to this project is the track Meat Grinder, that carries over that same hypnotic vibe, enchanting the listener to this song with the most ridiculously complex and creative flow and composition. I mean, some of the bars on this song send me dizzy as I try to follow them. It's just the way that Doom strings his words together, so unique and so iconic. It's no wonder why so many MCs today look up to Doom and why so many fans worship the ground that he walks on. The final song on this little prelude wraps up this section fantastically with the song Bistra, that has this whole fourth wall breaking introduction where Doom stops rapping and talks directly to the audience, feeling very nostalgic and reminiscent of like a big band jazz performance album. It's just a really cool addition to this part of the album, and again adds to the flow and the setup of the song list. So I would love in this review to discuss all of the songs on this album with you, but I just do not have the time to do it justice in this video. So for now, I'm just going to share my thoughts on some of my other favourite songs from this album. And maybe I could return to it in the future if you guys would like to see that, because I could really talk about this album all day long. So now I would like to talk about the banging little number, America's Most Blunted, that features in one of, in my opinion, the best beats from this project. I mean, you can really tell that Madlib put so much work and time into this track, as it has such a diverse sound profile with tons of sampling that sits so well in the mix and goes hand in hand with the bars on this track, that include of course some dope bars from Doom, as well as some kind of fantastic rhymes coming from Madlib, Madlib's alter ego that is, Quasimodo, that sit so well in this mix and add a really nice touch to this song. Another really great song from this album is Figaro. That is this short, pure bars kind of track that has some of the most interesting rhyming schemes from this album. It's just the way that Doom strings his words together. It's like no other MC, certainly around at the time, as he just fuses words together that you would never expect at all whilst developing a number of different rhyming schemes all together at once. I mean, just listen to this verse right here, for example.
Is empty with no brain, but the clever nerd, the best MC with no chain you ever heard. Take it from the Tech 9 holder. David don't know they neck shine from Shinola. Everything that glitter ain't fish scale. Let me think, don't let her faint, kid Ishmael. A shot of Jack got her back, it's not an act stack. Forgot about the cackalack, holler back, clack, clack, blocker.
And I could just keep playing this and playing this because the flow on this track just keeps going and going. Just an unstoppable flow here from Doom. Simply unforgettable. Okay, so for the last song I want to go over from this truly triumphant piece of art is a super iconic song, All Caps. The first song I ever heard from this album, and one that will always stick with me for the pure quality of it. I mean, it's one of those songs that gets everything right, from the production, the flow, to the concept, which is all about reminding everyone to remember all caps when you spell the man's name. To touch on this a little bit, the song perfectly demonstrates how important this outfit was. They shook up the game, and in such an interesting way. And Doom is acknowledging this fact and reminding the audience to remember to respect these two historical figures, outlaws and desperados if that, the villainous pair of really nice boys who just happen to be on the wrong side of a law. So that's going to have to do it for this week's episode of Ramblin' Reviews. Madvillainy is an album that I had to talk about because of the impact it had on myself. It's just such a well put together album featuring two of my favourite artists of all time. And again, there's so much to talk about here, so all I hope is that I did this album justice. If you have yet to hear this album, then I cannot recommend it enough. And if you would like to get yourself your very own vinyl copy on wax, then I have a link in the description, and it's a must-have for any hip-hop vinyl collector's collection. Also, before you head out, I have this week's recommended listening list, just a few songs that nicely complement this project. Starting out with Detroit Madness by Jay Dilla, Distant Lands by Madlib, and last but by no means least, Doomsday by MF Doom. Thank you once again for joining me for this week's episode of Ramblin' Reviews. It's been my utmost pleasure, and as always, if you would like to see more from this channel, subscribe to Mason's Music Library, and check us out on all relevant social media, all linked in the description. Thank you once again, take care, and I'll see you in the next one.